This was absolutely hilarious, and I love this news because my wife watches Married at First Sight. It's a show where they take a lot of contestants, they put them in a house with the purpose to try and see which one of them are going to end up being married. People in the audience, they get to vote on their favorite couple. Every week, people are getting eliminated, and of course, their private life is made public. You can think what you want about it. I guess it's entertaining enough if it's such a huge show and a lot of people watch it all around the world. In Romania, the prize is, I believe, $60,000. As you can imagine, the divorce rates are skyrocketing because you can't just put people in a house, pay them to get married, and then expect that marriage to last. But what I found interesting is in another country, you have a star which said that she only wants to date men that are over 6 foot. And people on the internet are being very upset about this, pointing out that she is 5'2" herself. Like, who cares? Why does this even matter? Yeah, she has a preference for dating taller men. Then, of course, she's going to be shorter. Now, she went on and she said that, well, why is it okay for men to say that they like girls with big booty, but it's not okay for her to state her preference? So first of all, I do think it's okay for her to state her preference. I think it's respectful. If someone has a preference that I would like to know so that I don't waste my time. Imagine looking for a job, right? You would like it on the application to state, well, you need to have a university degree in order to apply, so that you don't waste your time going to the interview, all of the hassle. It's the same with dating, I would consider. If you do not prefer certain things, then put them up. I'm not going to judge you for it. But there is a little bit of a difference, though, between men saying that they like a plump rear and a woman that says she likes only 6 foot men. The number of ladies that have a plump rear is quite high. Meanwhile, the number of men that are 6 foot is quite small, right? So your preferences is what people like to say. But if you want to actually delve into this conversation even more, what men aren't allowed to say, and this causes massive controversy online if you say it, is that men do not like to date single moms. And I'm pretty much sure that if you tell this particular single mom this interesting tidbit, she might get really upset. I have seen this conversation happen time and time again on social media, where you will have an army of angry women going, it's like, why wouldn't you date a single mom when I haven't seen a single one of them dating a single father? I know that single fathers are mythological creatures, they're quite rare, but trust me on this one, they're not having an easy time either. Now, there's a lot of reason why men wouldn't date a single mom, one of them being the fact that there is another man that's going to pop up in the relationship, adding a different layer of complication. Maybe there are men who do not want to raise another man's child. Maybe there are men who want to experience the magic of being a parent for the first time with someone else. Maybe there are men that act like the insurance company. How about that? You know, when you go to an insurance company and you tell them that you had a car crash, they don't really care if it's your fault or not. They don't really care if you could have avoided it or not. All they look at it as a statistic. They look at that car crash and they think, oh, you're a risk factor. So, whether or not it's your fault, the insurance company doesn't really care about it now, does it? However, think about it this way. If a person who is insured manages to cash in a couple of bucks, it's not really the same like taking half of the other person's wealth, is it? I mean, if you don't like it, complain to the government. The legislation is made in such a way that I do understand why certain individuals would refuse to marry someone who is a risk factor. Especially if there's multiple children, Jesus. So yeah, I mean, the expression of plenty of fish in the sea exists, and on top of that, there's also the very high standards that certain women have. I mean, he needs to be 6 foot tall, he needs to make $300,000 a year, he needs to have a university degree. So basically, it's like 0.1% of the men on planet Earth, right? And you have to wonder, does your father fit this criteria? Does your grandfather fit this criteria? No? Then why can't you be a little bit more humble like your mom or your grandma was, you know? These are questions that are uncomfortable to ask when it comes to the dating scene. But this is how the conversation should definitely be swayed, and not, well, she is 5'2" herself. So what? Like, men do not have an adversity in dating women that are shorter. Like, that's not something which would cause a man to be like, oh my god, well, I would never. No, it's like being 5'2" as a woman. It's okay. The question is, well, what do you have to offer, single mother? You know, like what do you bring to the table that you want a man that is 6 foot and he needs to earn a certain amount? What I find interesting though is that certain ideologies in society are like, well, we can't have skimpily clad women in comic books. We can't have beautiful women in video games. We can't have sexy ladies in TV shows because it creates unrealistic expectations from men, right? So, like, men who read comic books would not want to date an average woman because, like, they expect the comic book superhero to be in real life. And my question is, like, what are you smoking? Like, if anything, it's in reverse. Like, you look at the dating preferences of various women on dating websites, and those are the unrealistic preferences. Meanwhile, men, I remember when I was a teenager, right, I was surrounded by all of these comic books, fantasy, video games, Neverwinter Nights, beautiful ladies everywhere in cartoon form. But at that age, anything with a pulse would have done, right? So it's not like the unrealistic expectations were created by the comic books. No. I think, like, when you look at the way men prefer to date, they're very realistically expectating. It's like a Gauss curve, you know, like a bell curve. It goes from the bottom, it plateaus, and then it goes down. So it's completely normal, depending on you know, the value of society that places upon that particular man. You know, like, if you happen to be a CEO and you're fit, you're in your prime, then you have a lot of value. If you happen to be someone living with your parents and you don't go out much and you're socially awkward and you're a NEET, well, your value is low. And again, like, this value is being placed by the opposite gender, right? Like, women have different characteristics based on what they're judged on when it comes to dating. A woman that's neat and is living in her parents' basement but is very gorgeous, she's going to have different perspectives than a man in the same situation. But the way I treat it is exactly the same as applying for a job, as I mentioned before. So if your expectations are unrealistic, you're free to have them. Like, for example, if you just learned coding and you're going to say, well, I'm not going to work at any company besides Google, unless Google hires me, I'm not even going to consider any other company. I mean, sure, you can have those expectations, but you're going to remain unemployed with that attitude, right? So it's the same with dating. Like, if you're going to have unrealistic expectations, then you're going to end up with an army of cats. But it's fine, you know, like, it's their choice. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.